Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today we're making these adorable bunny cookies. I'm Leslie with Leslie's Cookies and Treats, and if you're interested in cookie decorating or you've always wanted to learn, then you're in the right place. Let's decorate together. But before we get started, I did want to tell you about my new cookie class. Imagine creating this stunning, fully edible 3D Easter basket out of cookies that is sure to impress your family and friends. In my brand new online class, I'll guide you step by step on how to create this adorable cookie Easter basket from start to finish. You'll learn how to master royal icing consistencies, how to pipe a basket weave pattern, how to build a sturdy 3D cookie basket, how to bake cookies on a stick for adorable accents, and even how to paint on cookies. And you'll also get a full workbook with everything you need: supply lists, recipes, templates, practice sheets, everything to make learning easy and fun. But let's get back to these adorable bunny cookies. So I'm going to start by outlining the eyes with a 15-second flood consistency and filling them in. And you can find a list of all of the products I used in the description. And this little sweet bunny is going to have closed eyes, so I'm just going to outline these half circles and then flood them in and then use my scribe to shape them further and make sure that there are no air bubbles and that the icing goes all the way down to the cookie. Sometimes when you're piping small areas, icing has a tendency to sit up on top of the outline, and then as it dries, it sinks down, causing a crater. So I'm going to use my scribe to make sure that the icing is all the way down and that the eyes are shaped the way I want them to. And then let's move on up to the ears. And I'm just going to take my pink icing and put a little squiggle of icing here, and then I'll take a dampened paintbrush where I've wiped off all of the excess water on a paper towel and just paint the inside of the ears. And because this is just a thin layer of painted icing, I don't need to wait for it to dry. I can immediately grab my 15-second icing and outline the ear. I'm going to go over it twice just to make it a little thicker, and then I'll use my scribe to settle it down and shape it. And then I'm going to set this cookie aside to dry. I'm going to place it in front of a small table fan, and once the icing crusts over, I'm going to come back in and outline this other ear just like we did before. And then I'm going to move back to the body and outline and flood in her face. I'm going to be careful not to flood over the top of those closed eyes that we already piped. And just carefully go around and fill this in, and then I'll use my scribe to settle the icing down and to shape it. And because my icing is a 15-second consistency, I can generally go right up to the edge without worrying about it overflowing. But it did overflow a little bit. I did pipe in a little bit too much icing. I just wipe that away with my scribe, and then I set the cookie back in front of a table fan to dry again. And now that my icing has crusted over, I can outline and flood in the bow. I'm using an orange royal icing here in about a 15-second consistency. I'm just going to fill in this entire bow area. And I'll use my scribe to shape it and make sure that the icing is going all the way down to the cookie so I don't get a crater as it's drying. And I set that aside to dry again, and now I'll just put the center of the bow in here. Once again, using my scribe to settle down any peaks and to make sure I pop any air bubbles. And I'm just going to give her a little heart-shaped nose or a triangle-shaped nose here. And again, using my scribe, I'll shape that icing. And that's it for all of the piping today. So I'll set this cookie aside to dry overnight. And then I can come back in and use some luster dust here or some petal dust and add a little color to her cheeks. And then I've got a gray edible marker, and I'm just going to give her some eyelashes at the bottom of her eyes here. And then draw in some little freckles and some whiskers and a little mouth. And then I decided I would outline the bow and give it a little bit more dimension. So I just grabbed my orange royal icing, and I'm just going to go around the outside edges of the bow. And then I'll use my scribe, or you can even use a dampened paintbrush if you need to move any of your lines around and further shape them. So if you do use a paintbrush, make sure you wipe off all of the excess water, and then you can just kind of push your line where you want it to go. And then that's it. Once we finish outlining this bow, this cookie will be finished. I think she's absolutely adorable, and every bunny is going to just love her. And I actually used this cookie cutter and made several different bunny designs. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button if cookie decorating is your thing and you want to see how to make all of these different cuties. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video useful, and I hope to see you in the next one. Happy Easter!